And just, again, a little housekeeping rules. Try to keep yourself muted during the presentation. If you have any questions, go to the chat box. Those questions will come directly to me. And at the end of Jennifer's presentation, we will address them. And I'm going to hand it over to Susanna now to do our introduction. And I'll stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Kelly. Can everyone hear me, first of all? Can you hear me? Okay. So good morning, everyone. Welcome to TWIG's first virtual monthly meeting. We're really excited to have you here. My name is Susanna Medley, and I'm your TWIG president this year. We're so glad to see all of your beautiful faces and be able to do a little bit of networking before and after our meeting. Please bear with us in case we have any technical difficulties or any awkward silences or anything like that. I also encourage you after the meeting to send any feedback to our email, which is tnwomeningreen@gmail.com, and just let us know how we can enhance your virtual experience. We've been toying around with doing some virtual networking and breaking out into different rooms, which is one of the features of Zoom. But we didn't want to do it today. We kind of wanted to ease into the virtual world. So just keep your eyes peeled for more virtual meetups, which will include some networking events. And stay tuned after the presentation for some announcements of upcoming virtual events. All right, let's get the show started. I'm really excited to welcome our speaker this morning. Jennifer Smith is Nashville City Horticulturist with the Metro Landscape Coordination Program within the Public Works Department under the Beautification and Environment Commission. She also coordinates the Metro Tree Advisory Committee. Previously, she was the state director of the Tennessee Urban Forestry Council and also worked at the Memphis Botanic Garden. She serves on the board of the Nashville Tree Foundation, Cheekwood's Garden Committee, and co-chairs the Friends and Flowers Garden Club. She has chaired Nashville Earth Day Festival and the Memphis Good Earth Festival. Jennifer is a native Nashvilleian, and fun fact, she has been a member of TWIG since day one. We are really honored to have her speak to us today, so please give her your undivided attention while she's presenting and hold your questions until the end. So with that, I will turn it over to Jennifer.
Good morning. Thank you, Kelly and Susanna, and I just think the whole leadership team of TWIGs, y'all are fabulous. I've just been so impressed with you all and keeping this organization vital. Just a little bit about me. As you all know, that's the format. Not that I'm here just to talk about myself, but anyway, as noted, I'm from Nashville. When I was growing up, my family had a farm on the South Harpeth River, and I think that's where my appreciation for land started. And from there, I went to Cheekwood as a teenager and volunteered, and I weeded a lot, and I loved that. And so as a young person, I knew that I wanted to go into the world of landscaping or plants or something in that area. So I went to the University of Tennessee College of Agriculture and Natural Resources. This was back in the late 70s, early 80s. And I received a degree in ornamental horticulture and landscape design. And I took courses from soils, turf grass, floral arrangement, how to run a nursery, landscape design, a whole host of programs. But what I really have found that works for me, being the people person that I am, is combining the love of people with the love of plants and horticulture. And so I've really been blessed, I think, in my career to be in positions to work in that capacity. And because I've been in this field for so long, every job I've ever had, I was the first person that was newly created position, and I had the experience. And I just, again, feel blessed. So my experience in Memphis was great. I was young in my career, but they gave me a lot of opportunities to grow. I worked with our volunteers in education and then in communication with the community. I was a stay-home mother for 6 years, and that was a great challenge. And then the position with the Tennessee Urban Forestry Council, working statewide for 13 years. I enjoyed helping the communities build their urban forestry program up to capacity. We did a lot of programming, but one I'm very proud of is that we started an Arboretum certification program, and now there's over 130 Arboretums statewide, and those are places where you can go learn about trees and see trees. Just a side note, and the School of Agriculture and Natural Resources gave me their Alumni of the Year award several years ago. But why I'm mentioning that is I think I was the first woman to ever receive that award. There's more women in agriculture in school, but I was just glad that I broke that barrier for the future women. So Carl Dean, in an executive order, started the program I'm in about 8 years ago. And as noted, I work with the Metro Tree Advisory Committee. I'm in Public Works under the Beautification Commission. And I work a lot with the trees in the public right of way. So that's the area, street trees, or the area in front of your home. And also I work with many tree nonprofits that Nashville has. And so as you can tell, I love trees, and land conservation is another love that I have. And so I'm here to talk to you about the emerald ash borer. I used to say just a few months ago that this will be the first epidemic that I can remember us having here, and now we've had a pandemic, so that's kind of gone. But the Louisville slugger, this bat, is made out of the ash tree. And we're going to lose 100% of our native ash trees unless we treat them. And that's why I'm here today to talk about this really important issue. And we think there's about 1.6 million ash trees in Davidson County. And that is going to be a big loss. And we're going to lose so much of our native forest and trees in your own yard. So before I click on the PowerPoint, just also at trees.nashville.gov is our brochure that's written that follows this program that I'm giving today. This is being put on by the Metro Tree Advisory Committee, and this is the brochure known as, that brochure with the big green bug on it. So this is what this is. So I'm going to see if I can get my PowerPoint going back again. Here we go. And there we are. Okay, can everyone see that? I hope. So again, we just talked about this being going to kill all that native ash trees unless they are treated. So what is EAB? Okay, the emerald ash borer. You can see how small it is. It's about the size of a cooked grain piece of rice. It was believed to come over from Asia, from China, in a crate that was used probably to some wood used to maybe crate up a TV set or something like that. So it came to ground zero in 2002 in Michigan, and then 2010 it was found outside of Knoxville at a truck stop because I feel like someone was moving firewood. So they got there and they unloaded their firewood, and there was the bug, the borer, was inside that wood. And then I remember distinctly the day that was found here in Davidson County, 2014. So what does the emerald ash borer that we refer to as the EAB, what does it do? Well, it has a life cycle. And so the green bug lays its egg on the bark of a tree, of an ash tree. And when it hatches, the larva bores into through the bark of a tree into the live tissue, and it eats its way through that. And because it eats that, the water and nutrients from the soil is not able to, that's where it flows up into the leaves. And so it creates a void there, and the water's not able to get up to the top of the trees. So there's a mortality curve for the EAB, and we believe we're past the 60% rate. So we should be seeing some major death perhaps this growing season. And we've talked to a lot of different experts, and this is what we all feel. However, I want to note that there are some areas in Davidson County that has higher volume of ash trees than others. So you might see pockets of death. So the first thing you have to do is say, do I have an ash tree? And so let's go over what that might look like. Do you see the leaf shape? That whole thing is a leaflet, and that's the leaf of the ash tree. The smoother bark are the trees in the younger age, and then this beautiful diamond-shaped, handsome gray bark is what it looks like as it's getting older. You'll see that on the left. Now, the one distinguishing feature that you can look up into the tree and go, oh, that's an ash also, is it has opposite branches. Do you see at the bottom where the circle is? It shows that the branches come off a branch opposite. Most trees, it's not like that, it's alternate, but the maples and the dogwood is like this as well. It does have the oar-shaped leaves, that, the seeds. And then there's other trees that look like, perhaps you could confuse it with the ash tree. You'll just see the walnut, the hickory, and the box elder because they have the same leaflets. So is your ash tree infected? So let's look at that. You'll see the declining top of the tree from the 0 dieback down to the 80% dieback. Below you see the larva, that's the live tissue there that it's eating through. And once it pupates or changes into the borer then makes that perfectly D-shaped exit wound out of the tree. It's the size of like a pencil head. So it's really hard to see, and it's usually way up in the tree. But those are some signs to note that if your tree is infected. But you could peel back the bark and you could see all the channels, the S-shaped tunnels that the larva has eaten through the tree. You can see blinding on the trunk of the tree where the woodpeckers peck in to get the bark off so they can drill in and get the larvae to eat. Now, a tree has many ways to take care of itself, and when it's not getting the leaves at the top to photosynthesize, and that's a process on a green leaf with the sun, and the water and nutrients come together and it photosynthesizes to create sugars to feed the tree. But when the leaves aren't there, the tree will often send out small sprouts at the base so it can have leaves to do anything to help it feed itself to survive. And the splits is another way that you can kind of tell if you have the EAB. So first we decided if you had a ash tree. Then the second thing is you need to make a management option. Now, one of the things I'm asking TWIG members to do is to help your neighbors with this also, and your community, spread the word. So we think this is the last season if you're going to treat your tree. If you have a special ash tree, a large ash tree, or something that really frames your home, or a tree that your grandmother planted, you might want to consider treating it to keep it going. I would not suggest just every ash tree out there to try to save. You couldn't even begin to do that. But there's 3 techniques: the soil drench, the bark spray, and the chemical injections. And the first 2 are things that homeowners can do. The third one, which is the most effective, and really at this point is the only one to try. The other ones you should have been doing the last couple of years. But the chemical injection has to be done by a commercial chemical person that has a certificate a permit to do that, because it's a stronger chemical. But that will last up to 2 years. Now, we again think that if that's something you want to do, now is the time. The ash tree leaves are going to be coming out here any minute now. And as soon as they're out, you really want to get that injection in to get the chemical up into the top of the tree. So you can treat your tree, you can let it die. And what would that look like? Well, if it doesn't have a target like your house or your neighbor's house or where you park your car or where there's a playground, if it could fall in any direction and not hurt anything, then let it die in place. It will fall, and we'll talk about the ash snap, but it will biodegrade fairly quickly, and the larvae in it will die too because their food will dry up. Or you can remove it. Now, removing it is something you need to do before the tree dies completely, because it gets so brittle that it's hard to take down. You cannot climb up to the tree and take it down. You have to get a bucket truck. And let's just say you have this in a place in your home where you can't get a bucket truck. So you really need to be proactive if that's your decision. You can take it down while it's alive. It would be less of a hazard to do so. So what is your responsibility if you own a tree? So we're going to talk about your neighbor's tree, a tree that's a boundary, and that's between two property owners. It could be the trunk of the tree could be 50% and 50%, or even 80-20. Or what is about a tree in the public right-of-way. So you need to, if this is your tree, you need to make sure, because we know that this tree does get brittle and can snap over towards the base, that it can present a danger. So you need to be proactive and make a decision on the management of that tree. And again, public safety, for you, your family, and your neighbors. If it's a boundary tree, and this goes to state law, then both homeowners are supposed to come together and make decisions about the health and care of those trees. Now, if it's in the public right-of-way, and again, that's more like a street tree, and a general rule of thumb, the public right-of-way is the backside of that water main rectangle box in the lawn, from the backside of that to the street, or if there's a sidewalk, the back of the sidewalk to the street. So if there is an ash tree in that realm, then Public Works, we will be taking those down. And you can call the Hub Nashville, that number's there, 311, and report an ash tree in the right-of-way. So proper debris disposal in Nashville. So wood debris must be chipped to a maximum of 1 square inch for it to kill the ability of the larvae to live, because again, it's just not going to have enough food. And Metro's brush collection program meets that standard. But we also want everyone to know that our brush collection program is not for commercial properties or to be used by the professional. So if you hire an arborist to help you with your tree, that's supposed to be something they put in the contract, that they will take that debris and dispose of it properly. And also, we think that for the first time, many people will be hiring an arborist. So we want them to be aware of some of the guidelines, such as ask for proof of liability insurance, get written bids with dates of starting and ending, make sure that proper cleanup is included, get a detailed contract with signatures, and make sure that they're qualified to do the work, because this is a safety issue. And note that in these pictures below, I mentioned the ash snap, and these are some good pictures of it. This is not one of those things where you say, oh, I think this weekend I'll go out and chop down that ash tree, because they call it barber chair. So it snaps, and then the remaining, you can see in that center photo drawing, it looks like a chair. So this is really a safety issue, and we need to let our neighbors know about that. It's so important. So we want to encourage Nashvillians, because trees, they improve our air, they help us conserve energy, they help us with our stormwater runoff. They're where our birds and squirrels live, and they really do add character and beauty to our community. So we want to make sure that our Nashvillians are replanting the trees they lost because of this EAB epidemic. So plant a variety of trees. We don't, there's been histories, where we've lost other types of trees to, like, the Dutch elm disease and things like that. And we want to make sure that people plant a variety of trees, because in this global economy, we might be getting other diseases and insects from across the pond. And we just want to make sure we have a variety of trees in case another epidemic comes in. We just don't want it to kill all the, let's say, street trees. So look at the mature size of a tree. Make sure you don't plant it near power lines. Watering is so important. And really for the first 3 years, because that's when a tree gets planted, it takes about 3 years for its root system to really get going. And that's why you really want to water, especially that first 3 years, so that the root system could get established, and then the tree starts to grow upward because it has enough roots to support it. I'm not going over in detail this, but this is really important. The Nashville Tree Foundation has a green shirt volunteer tree program where you can come in and get training on proper tree planting, and then those green shirts help with all these tree planting programs that are going on in Nashville, and they provide oversight to get the trees planted by what I consider a done-in-a-day volunteer. They just need a little more oversight. But one thing I'm just going to note here is that roots breathe. And when you plant the root ball too deep into the ground, it doesn't get the oxygen it needs. And it's really a detriment. When I'm asked maybe why a tree's not doing well or why it's dead, sometimes that's just the main reason. It's just planted too deeply. So really you want the top of the root ball to be about 2 inches above the ground level. And another way to get trees planted is through the seedlings. And this is mainly done in riparian areas. That's the area around a body of water, a stream, a pond. And getting, a group of volunteers could plant 100 of these, and they don't go back to water them. But if let's say 70 of those 100 live, then that's a success story. And then when the stormwater comes, it doesn't take all the pollutants from the area and rush it into the stream, and then it pollutes downstream. It keeps the stormwater from rushing into these areas like lakes and streams. So how can you help? Talk with your family, your friends, your neighbors about the emerald ash borer epidemic. Plant a tree in your yard. There's so many ways now to do that through, we have 3 nonprofits out there working. Volunteer for one of those community tree planting projects. It's fun. You really feel good about what you've done, and you get exercise. So I know TWIG members have been involved in other tree plantings that I've worked with, and yeah, it is fun. And don't move firewood. Look at this picture of the firewood, and you can see all those channels in there that the larvae have created. This is how this epidemic's got, is moving. It was mainly on this side of the Mississippi River, and about, 6, 7, 8 years ago, it showed up in Denver. And they have a lot of different ash trees, more than we have, different kinds, and it's devastating them. But it got there because someone moved firewood on their way out, perhaps to go camping. So that's a big national movement, is not to move firewood. So at this time, I'll be open to answer questions. I do want everyone to know that we have a host of partners with the Metro Tree Advisory Committee and getting the word out, because this is such an important message. And if we have a speakers bureau, the Tree Advisory does, we have about 20 people trained up to give this presentation. And if you have a work group, church group, social group, neighborhood association, we can be there to give this presentation. We have it in PowerPoint. We also have a flip chart that's been very popular to go give to smaller groups. And again, the Green Bug brochure complements this presentation. So now I would like to open this up.
Yeah. We do have a couple questions. Jennifer, just on that last note about not moving firewood, are there legal restrictions in Davidson County? Is there any kind of enforceable?
So the Division of Forestry, in cooperation with the national and the state, come together, and they quarantine a county where you're not supposed to then move firewood out of that county into a county that has not been quarantined yet. So about half the counties in the state of Tennessee have been quarantined now. However, that is not enforced. There's no tree police at the border. And most people don't know this, but it's it's somewhat common sense, but we just need to get the word out more about it.
Okay. And another question was, you mentioned in the beginning that you remember distinctly when the EAB came to Davidson County. Do you have any more details on that day, why it's so distinct?
Well, if your whole life is centered around trees, I've been waiting for this day for 10 years. And it was in the Old Hickory area. And you know, just knowing the devastation, I have talked a lot with my partners in Michigan and Ohio to get a better feel of how to brace for this. We had a meeting about 2-3 years ago here in Metro. We organized with every city department. And then within Metro, you all might know, we've got about 6 satellite cities, like Oak Hill, for example, Belmead. And we brought them in too, because they've got to come up with their own program. We're of course happy to help share what our knowledge is, but brought everyone in. And we brought in the urban forester from Knoxville. And he just said, you know, if you don't, this is going to cost you. And it's going to be a natural, you know, basic disaster. If you've got to be proactive in your response to this. The state has an inventory count. It's not they've counted every ash tree, but they have a method to count. And it's an inventory analysis. And Davidson County is the 5th largest ash population of the counties in Tennessee. Unfortunately for Memphis, Shelby County, it's about double our count. It's a predominant tree there because a lot of it's due to terrain. So the next couple of years, it's going to be a big deal. My people, again, my counterparts in Ohio, one of them told me that this is the biggest thing that we will deal with in our profession in our lifetime, because it's such an intense devastation. And you will be able, unfortunately, be able just to drive around and just see that blinding. Remember we showed the blinding where the woodpeckers had taken the bark off the tree? You'll just be able to see that and like, oh, you know, and then you'll be able to see the browning of these trees. And they're so lovely. Please take time to go out and find them now. Now in the parks, especially like in Warner Parks, they have blue dots, and they're putting inventories in the parks to see where all the ash trees are. And basically in most parks, what they're doing is if a tree would fall on a person walking or a car, then they've got to address those trees. We are not treating many trees as far as Nashville is concerned, the city of Nashville. We will remove, but we're not treating.
Are those blue dots, does that mean that that tree is going to be removed?
Well, that it is an ash tree of concern.
Okay.
And the last count in Warner Parks, which is right near where I live, it was close to 5,000 trees. And that's just the trees that, you know, will affect a path or a drive. So these parks aren't going to look anything like they do now in just a few short years. We think by 2026, and that's just an estimate, that you know, the devastation will have gone through. This is there's a new science to this. A lot of schools are doing research and trying to find ways to be able to reintroduce the ash, but we're far away from that at this time.
Jennifer, are all ash trees, all types of ash trees susceptible to the EAB?
Yes, all native ash trees, native to the United States, are susceptible. In Asia, the trees just grew up with the board, and no, you know, insect is going to totally kill off its food source. And so they grew up together. But here it wasn't like that. So we're a fresh source of food. And this has cost billions of dollars to our country. And it's a massive devastation. It's very sad. Fortunately, we had not been planting in the landscape industry too many ash trees, like we might plant a maple. In downtown, the inner loop downtown, in the public realm, we only had like 14 ash trees. But in our woods, it's just going to be massive a loss. And the thing I'm concerned about is that where the ash trees fall, there's going to be light in the forest floor. And so something's going to come grow there, because wherever there's light, something grows. And we've got to be aware that many invasives, the privet, the honeysuckle, the pears, all that's going to see that light, and they're going to go take that up, being invasive. So we just don't want to lose what's unique, the unique character of our and biodiversity of our woods and forest.
So Jennifer, do you suggest replanting, like to replace a tree that they have to remove? Do you suggest replanting another ash or
No.
not?
No, because it'll just die. I don't even know if you can buy ash. Yeah.
And then we've
So
had
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, we've had a couple questions about tree removal and treatment, and if you suggest any specific companies that can treat the trees by injection.
So one of the things, there are a lot of good ones out there, and there is a international organization that certifies arborists, and it's ISA, International Society of Arboriculture, ISA. And on their website, there's a click where it's a tab that says find an arborist, and you go in there and you put your zip code in, and they populate. But again, a tree, it's so important that whoever you hire understands safety, because it's not a matter of if that tree is dead or not, it's going to be dead. So you don't need an arborist to tell you that. But it's how, their safety training and precautions. And again, because this tree, because it dries out and it snaps, it gets brittle and it can snap over. And that's what we're just trying to let our citizens know, is be aware of that aspect of this EAB epidemic.
Do you recommend any specific types of trees to replace them with?
Of course, depends on the site, but at our website for Nashville's trees is trees.nashville.gov, and it's on the bottom here, trees.nashville.gov, and we have a recommended tree list that the Metro Tree Advisory Committee provides, and it does actually have a short list of trees we don't recommend that tend to not be sustainable or invasive. But get creative. There's a whole group out there that really encourages native species, especially in your yards and things. If you're having a street tree, there's some trees that are not native but would do well there as well. So yes, but I so encourage the replacement, because we're trying, we have a effort out there in Nashville to plant 500,000 trees by 2050. And we really need everyone to plant trees, and, we keep planting, but now we're going to lose. So we have to do this consciously. We have to be intentional about everyone. And I just challenge each one of us to plant a tree.
Awesome.
And if you don't have a place to plant a tree, and maybe you live in an apartment or don't have a place for space, get involved with the Tree Foundation or the Root Nashville, and there's a Tree Conservation Corps. They're all doing community tree plantings that you can get involved with. And again, it's a lot of fun.
So when Public Works takes down an ash tree that's in the right of way, do they replace that tree? And
We do not.
They don't? Okay.
We do not. Traditionally, we have not. Now, however, we may do a partnership with one of our nonprofits out there that might help us with that, or through Root Nashville, which is a program that's you know, in partnering with Metro, we may be able to, through that partnership, do some tree planting in the right of way.
Awesome. This is kind of a fun question. We've got a big baseball fan in the house, and they're asking if the Louisville Slugger bats are at risk.
Yes, they're absolutely at risk. So what you can do now is you can harvest the wood, the heartwood of an ash tree, going in and just cutting out the outer rim where it's affected, and get the heartwood of the ash tree and use that for bats or whatever production you want to use it for. But until there is a cure, I'm not sure if that's the right word, for this infestation, we won't be able to bring the ash tree back. I mean, anytime you keep, like when a tree dies and let's say it goes to the ground, but then it starts sprouting up, that's keeping that food source in this area. So the ash borers would be here. It's not, we don't know we don't have enough years behind us to know for sure how we're going to be able to bring this back. But what we do know is from these other things, like the Dutch elm and the chestnut, American chestnut efforts to bring that back, our research techniques have advanced so far because of those two. And so they're taking the knowledge that those groups have gained and applying it here. But this is this is new. It's going to take years of research and understanding to come up with how we're going to bring the ash tree back. But you saw those beautiful pictures of the gray bark, the diamond. I mean, that is just lovely. And it's going to be really sad. It is sad. I'm sad.
Now, another question was, if you've got a large amount of land, do you recommend them having an arborist come out to identify the ash trees?
Well, again, if your tree, they're fairly easy to identify, especially with that opposite branch, right, in the leaflets. And you can just look up even in the winter and see, oh, okay, that's the opposite branch, and and it has diamond-shaped bark, probably an ash tree. But you really need to know, does that tree have a target? Okay, so if you just have some open land and they'll die and eventually, will fall, and in a few years it will biodegrade because it'll be so brittle, and that's one management plan. But if you have trees with a lot of targets, your house, your neighbor's house, and that's really important. What your neighbor may have a ash tree in their yard who doesn't know anything about this, but that tree could fall into your yard. I mean, you need to have those conversations, and they're not always easy to have. But you need to have that with them to let them know that they have a responsibility to manage that ash tree.
And then one other question about the chemical injections. Does that pose any kind of risk to other wildlife?
Well, that's a good question. And that's, there's a lot of discussion about that. So without it, that tree will die. And so there are a lot of insects and bugs that call the ash tree their home. And so, it's going to kill all the insects and bugs. And even though, the residual, there's been a little controversy over the residual of the chemicals going into the ground and stuff like that. But it's, that's why I'm not saying treat every ash tree. But again, if you have a significant historic specimen ash tree that you might want to treat. Now, if you go in and do the math, it's roughly to have the injection about $10 a diameter inch. So you cut the tree in half, and it's that diameter inch, and that can be costly. But you also have to take into account how much it would cost to take that tree down. And so, even if you have the ash tree treated every 2 years, at some point that tree is going to die, right? Anyway, So, you know, at some point it will come down. It may be 10, 20 years from now. So you got to do the math and decide what works best for you and your budget. And sometimes, let's say you have, oh, I don't know, 20 in your yard. You might say, okay, well, this year I can afford to take down 3 trees and I'm going to treat the rest. And then the next year budget, you might have, take down 3 more, and then defer it over years to help your budget out.
Now we've got a question regarding the tornadoes that we had. If there was an estimate yet on how much of the canopy cover was lost?
Not yet. Some of those areas we had actually just did an inventory, but that's only in the public realm, not on private property. So like in parks, in the right of way. So we do not have that. And we're working, we're fortunate. Our crews have been so great in getting out, and a lot of the community came out to help get the trees off power lines and to get people back into their homes. But there's going to be another level of review this summer, working with the Division of Forestry, and the U.S. Forest Service is going to send in a strike team to do some more analysis, and we may know more then. And the other thing that they're going to do is look back to see, okay, where now can we plant trees in those areas that were affected by the tornado, and then work with our nonprofit partners to get trees planted there. But there are efforts by the Nashville Tree Foundation and the Nashville Tree Conservation Corps to go back into those neighborhoods and do tree plantings. And you will see them rolling their programs out and then start planting next fall.
Well, that's great. And then Renee asked about the arboretums that you mentioned earlier statewide. Are those all open to the public?
Most of them are. There are a few corporate arboretums that are not, like in Memphis at FedEx, but they have, thousands of employees that get to see that. But that list is very organized, and it's on the Tennessee Urban Forestry Council's website. And it's broken down into East, Middle, and West Tennessee. And there are 5 categories of arboretums. And the first one, you have to have at least 30 different species of trees that are labeled, and it goes up, stair steps up from there. And these are great outdoor places to go learn about trees. They also have a relatively, well, it's about 5 years old now, a program called Tree Sanctuary. And that's for the individual homeowner. And you can go learn about that on their website. You get this really neat plaque that you can put in your yard too. So yeah, those and many other programs. They do a historic and specimen tree program statewide. It's a great organization, and I've certainly grew a lot in those years I worked with them.
Do you have a favorite arboretum?
A lot of cemeteries have major collections of trees, and they're fun just to kind of walk around and look. So I would, because you get some of the older trees there, some major significant trees in the old historic cemeteries. That's always a fun place in any city. You go to our historic city cemetery here in Nashville is a good place to go look at trees.
Awesome. And you said that where they can see the list of the arboretums is the Tennessee Urban Forestry
Council. Mm-hmm. Their website.
Okay. Try to find that link for everybody.
TUFC.com.
Say that again.
TUFC.com.
Perfect. Excellent. All right. Just one more question. So Clara is asking, she says she's heard you given the speech in 2018 and wanted to know what has changed as far as how the EAB has affected Davidson County in the last 2 years.
Well, do you remember that slide earlier, the death curve that went up? We are 2 years down the road on that. And again, I had brought a group together of arborists and with the Division of Forestry, and I said, where do you think we are on this? And we think this is going to be the growing season, if you will, that we're going to start to see a lot of devastation. We don't know exactly what that means because it's not an exact science, but this is going to be the beginning of it. And people are going to want to know when they see that blinding of the tree or just mass dead trees everywhere, what is that? And you can refer people back to trees.nashville.gov and get the famous brochure with the big green bug on it. And we wrote that for our citizens. We wrote it at a level that we hope would address the average citizen in Nashville, what they need to know, and that they do need to make a management plan if they have an ash tree. And if their neighbor has an ash tree, they need to let them know to protect themselves.
Well, thank you so much, Jennifer.
Oh, you're welcome. I enjoyed it.
So
great audience.
I'm gonna turn your screen off and let Renee take over with some announcements. That was so interesting.
Thank you, Kelly.
All right. How's that look? Can we see it?
Looks great.
Awesome. Welcome, everyone. May 1st, our first virtual meeting. So glad to see a lot of people came, and we just have a few announcements, not too many for the end here. And afterward, we can stay on. We have the Zoom meeting set to stay on. And if you want to connect with each other, we'll be providing those links that Jennifer mentioned on our website and on our socials. So our mission, we empower, inspire, and connect women who are committed to environmental sustainability. And a big thank you to all of our sponsors. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor, maybe the company you work for, or if you have any ideas of companies that we should reach out to that align with our mission on sustainability, please let us know. You can send your suggestions to TN Women in Green, or Diane is on this call and she's coordinating those efforts. You can send a message to her as well. But thank you to all of our great sponsors. We also want to welcome our new members and guests. We saw quite a bit of new members or new guests sign up for this meeting. So welcome everybody. We're so glad that you're checking us out. We also want to thank all those who renewed or started a new membership since we last met in March. Sarah Edmonds, Barry Kennedy, Shauna Delos, Nancy Murphy, Melinda Welton, Daniel Chuquin, and Anna Caro. So thank you all. I don't know if any of you are here, but shout out to those people. We have different membership levels to those who are new to TWIG, all the way from just an individual membership up to corporate sponsorship. So all those levels are available to view on our website, and you can choose whatever one works best for you. Upcoming meetings, we're still working on our schedule and seeing how comfortable people are with this virtual way of presenting. So for the time being, we are still going to follow shelter-in-place orders until further notice. So we may have more virtual monthly meetings. We'll keep you updated on all of our weekly newsletters and on our social media. And as I said, cancellations, all of our in-person meetings and events are canceled for now, but we have been posting a lot on our calendar and community news page. It seems like a lot of our local nonprofits and a lot of some metro programs as well have pivoted to virtual and online classes or video series or events. So please check that out. We're constantly posting on our calendar. Every week we post new stuff. And if you have something for us to share, send it to our email and we'll get it up there too. Iris's book club, we also met virtually this week, and that was super fun, and we're probably going to do that again. If you have questions about the book club, send us an email, or you can send me a message, or Leah Sherry. And we did want to shout out to all of the people who participated in our Earth Month social media challenge. These are just some awesome examples that people shared about the ways that they're still keeping green for Earth Month. So hopefully everyone had a great Earth Day. We did send out our prizes. I believe we've coordinated with everyone who won a prize. It was a random drawing on an Instagram Live, also the first time we've done one of those. So it was a lot of fun, and we'll probably do more things like this in the future. But great job, everyone, for celebrating Earth Month. And then we have the big payback coming up very, very soon. Tammy, if you'd like to unmute yourself, do you want to talk about it real quick?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, sure. So the Big Payback is the largest fundraiser held in Middle Tennessee once a year, and it's thrown by the Community Foundation. It begins on May 6th at 6 p.m. and it runs for 24 hours. And we're going to target the most unique donations between the time of 2 to 6 a.m. on the 7th. And all you need to do is donate $10 if you want to use multiple credit cards or however you'd like to do that. But all we need is $10 on a credit card or a debit card, and that will help us win $1,500. So whatever you can do, if you want to help spread the word, just set your alarm, make sure everybody knows $10 and help us win. We'd appreciate it.
What's the time?
2 a.m. to 6 a.m. is the time we're targeting.
Yeah, so just wake up at 5:30, anytime before 6 a.m. when we know not everybody's going to get up at 2 a.m.
I think in the past I've done like 5:55, have the credit card ready next to the phone, do it really quick, go back to sleep. But yes, we would definitely appreciate your help in spreading the word about the Big Payback. It's a little different this year because of everything, and we aren't able to do an in-person event, obviously. So we'd really, really appreciate your support on this. Okay, so my final slide has some funny photos because I've mentioned this to Jennifer before, but I used to work in urban forestry in Minnesota, and emerald ash borer was a main part of my job, and we had a lot of community events. And I dressed up as the emerald ash borer at some of these events. So just want to share those pics. Maybe Metro Nashville should work on getting an EAB costume like this. Pretty fun. So this is our last slide. Once again, please share your feedback with us. Any news, any events, virtual events that you know of, send it to tnwomeningreen@gmail.com, and we will get that up on our website and socials. Thank you again, Jennifer. We really appreciate it.
Yes, that was so great, Jennifer. Thank you. As Renee said, I'll leave this open for a little bit longer. You can unmute yourself and start chatting if you'd like. It's such a great meeting. It's so great to see so many happy faces.
Hey.
Hi.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a tremendous day.
Tanya,
Thank you, Jennifer. That was really, really good.
how many miles did Tanya walk?
That was a great question.
Let me change my display. 2.75.
Nice.
Nice. and I still have 2 more calls to go. So
Right. You'll have to let us know your daily total.
hey, there's a challenge that just started today called Walk Across Tennessee.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to try to walk 1,000. I think it's called Across Tennessee. So you can walk or you can run, and that's 1,000 kilometers between now and the end of August. So I signed up for that, and I've been doing this treadmill desk for the last month, I guess. In March, I just kind of sat on my butt on my couch and then realized, so wait, this is why I have a treadmill. What am I doing?
Most excellent.
Jennifer, that was amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank
you.
I appreciate
So
that.
I like the last time I heard you give that talk was like so inspiring, and we've treated and removed since then. And like this one behind me is like, I love this tree. It's one of my favorite trees in our yard, and we just treated it. It's pricey. I mean, you were right. Like, but it's worth it instead of taking it out. So thank you so much. You're amazing.
Welcome. Thanks for doing that.
Jennifer, are you in the office?
I am.
Are you the only one there?
There's a few. We've got, all of our people that work out doing trash and potholes. We've got a whole team here that's out. I'm tucked in the beautification. And one thing I wish I'd mentioned is that each city council district has a beautification commissioner. And maybe some of you all at one point might be interested in being a beautification commissioner for your council district. That's a great thing to do. They work a lot on litter and now trees.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
That's cool. That's cool.
It was also great to hear that you're a Vol. I didn't know it.
Yay!
Yay!
Bleed orange.
Jennifer,
that's awesome.
I was really inspired about your educational, progression there, because I guess it was in the late 70s that I actually had a thought about, oh my gosh, I love houseplants so much, and and garden spaces, that I should do something like what you just did. But it felt too late at that time. It's kind of crazy, isn't it?
My mother always said that you could take my degree. I mean, even if you don't have the degree, but you can always do it in your backyard.
Absolutely.
You don't you can do it. But I knew when I was 7th or 8th grade, there was just something about it that appealed to me.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well,
That's
and
really cool.
the Master Gardener program actually covers so much of that material.
Yes.
It's really an interesting opportunity for people.
One day I would like to take that.
Yeah.
All right, as long as y'all are talking about backyards and all, I want to put in a plug for native plants. And you can get native plants that grow wild and turn your lawn into a habitat for the bugs and the birds. So that's my pitch.
Oh, that's a
good.
good one. And the Nashville Tree Foundation is adding about 10 new trees to the orders for the next go round, and there's some really beautiful ones like sassafras and
nice.
The smoke tree. So
great.
check that out for sure.
And
That's really nice.
you can also do Root Nashville. Root Nashville's is requesting volunteers for the neighborhoods to plant trees in your own neighborhood. So that's something you might.
Neighborhood leaders. They're looking for neighborhood leaders.
Neighborhood leaders. Thanks.
And you and I live in the same neighborhood, so maybe you can be our neighborhood leader.
We'll talk.
We'll
I was
talk.
considering it.
Hey, Jennifer, I always had a question about the Bradford pear. And I know it's controversial because I know that people say it's invasive, but then again.
It is invasive. So it splits. That's one reason why you don't want to do it, plant it. But it is. So it doesn't self-pollinate, but it cross-pollinates with other Caloriana, with other pears. And it goes back to the native Asian pear. And they have really long, 4-inch thorns. And you can't cut those. I mean, if you mowed over it with a tractor, it would poke your
put together this national blockade protest held just a few moments ago while Governor Lee was meeting with the president.
But anyway, yeah. So right now, or in the spring, you've seen fields or in the forest, all the blooming pears. You think, oh, they're so beautiful, but they're destroying the biodiversity of our natives. And they're, they bloom out early, they leaf out early, and our natives, come later and they don't get the sunlight. So it's very invasive, and we really need to eradicate. Some states, have it. You can't plant Bradford pears, and we need to do something more aggressive here in Tennessee. It's changing our native woods.
Yeah, I know, because they are so beautiful, but killing the biodiversity.
Yeah, the smell, the flowers don't smell good, so that's another thing. But they, you get 5 years in them, and then all their branches come to one point in the tree and they just fall apart. Well, you've missed 5 years of growing a tree that will be sustainable for generations. It's sad.
Hey, Jennifer, is there a way, what can we do to get it so that they're banned in Nashville or Tennessee?
Well, there's an organization out there that keeps the list of invasive plants in Tennessee.
Invasive plant,
Yeah, that group.
IPC.
And that would be something they could potentially, and there's, the wild ones, that's another group that's really gotten strong here. So there's a lot of issues groups out there that could band together. The Urban Forestry Council could work on something like that, partnering together. So much of all this is done through partnerships, and those would be good ones.
Thanks.
I have a question. I'm actually coming from Asheville, North Carolina, but my home state is Tennessee. And something I've been doing lately is foraging and making little floral arrangements. But I was just wondering if you knew what this one is. It's this really delicious, most fragrant flower I've ever smelled. It's purple and looks like a trumpet. Do you know?
Is that the catawba? Is that a tree?
Yes.
I believe it's the catawba.
Okay. Anyways, it's we have a lot of really fragrant flowers here, and something that I've been doing during this time to really help pass it is to make an ikebana arrangement.
Mm-hmm.
And so I arrange these flowers, and then I kind of just meditate over it, and it's been really peaceful. Anyways, it's something that just came up for me during this pandemic because I don't know what else to do to pass the time, but I just wanted to share that.
Awesome. All right, ladies, since it's a little after 9, I'm gonna shut the meeting down. It was so great to see everybody. Jennifer, again, thank you so much.
Welcome. Thanks for having me, Kelly.
Yeah, everybody have a wonderful weekend.
Jennifer.
You too.
Thanks, Jennifer.
All right, bye guys.